Once More Unto the Breach from Blue Dwarf. Podcast voiced by Andy Longman. Original post written by Andy Longman on the 22nd of March 2011. It was the morning after Jay's speech in the briefing room, and he sat in the captain's chair on the drive room, his gaze fixed firmly on the forward screen, watching as those ships which had survived the Hymenoptera attack well enough to be flight capable and had heeded the Queen's call to arms slowly moved into formation with the Blue Dwarf. He hadn't left the drive room since the attack yesterday, and he hadn't slept either, but there was no way in Smeg that he was going to rest now. Most of the ships joining the makeshift armada weren't built for combat, much like the Dwarf itself before its heavy modifications over all these years, and so Jay, along with the commanders of the few Space Corps ships that had decided to disobey orders and join Jay's fight, had provided whatever weapons they could spare to the civilian ships. Jay checked the time. It was 8:55 a.m., 5 minutes until they were due to move out to launch the attack on the Hymenoptera homeworld. Jay didn't know if the attack was going to achieve anything, what with the Hymenoptera being a largely nomadic race. They had to at least try, didn't they? Engineering, he said sternly into the communications panel. Prepare for a wormhole jump. Configure it for multiple vessels. He nodded to the helm officer, who entered the coordinates that Jay had given her earlier, then gave an order back to the communications officer to open a channel to the entire armada. All ships, this is Captain Chrysler of the Blue Dwarf. Prepare for a wormhole transition in T-minus 5 minutes. Captain, said an officer at the tactical station, we've got 3 Space Corps warships coming out of hyperspace to aft. They're hailing. On screen, Jay replied, then turned to the screen. This is Captain J. Chrysler of the Blue Dwarf. What can we do for you? Stand down, Captain, came the response. We've been ordered to bring you and your armada in. You're not waging a war today. You and whose army? Jay muttered to himself and signalled to the comms officer to cut the channel. All ships, Jay said into the comm. We're leaving early. Get ready to go. Engineering, I need that wormhole now. The Blue Dwarf's hull crackled with blue electricity, and the ram scoots began to glow as the space in front of it began to swirl. The comm bleeped again. Chrysler, don't even think about it. Stand down and prepare to be boarded. Jay ignored them and allowed the wormhole to grow bigger. At the same time, he turned to the tactical officer. Target all weapons at their propulsion weapon systems. We've got to stop them from following us. The officer nodded and opened fire. He managed to disable 2 of the Space Corps ships, but the third had managed to avoid fire and pulled up alongside the Blue Dwarf and was now extending docking tunnels. The tunnels locked onto the side of the ship, and Space Corps Marines charged through them and began cutting an access port in Blue Dwarf's hull. Keep that wormhole open until everyone's through, Jay yelled to the navigator. As soon as the last ship's in, take us through. I don't care if we have to take the warship with us. He then turned to the internal comm. LeChance, mobilise all security teams. We're being boarded. Those are our guys boarding us, so use non-lethal force where possible, but subdue them somehow. If we can't stop them now, then we're going to fall at the first hurdle. The last ship's through, sir, the helmsman told Jay. I'm taking us in. With that, the Blue Dwarf's thrusters powered up and entered the wormhole, the Space Corps ship being dragged in with it. This podcast is a work of fiction and is in no way endorsed, approved, or even liked by the creators of Red Dwarf. For more stories and information, visit bluedwarf.co.uk.